Take two. Terms of service lost updated February 28, 2024. These terms of service agreement cover the terms and conditions under which we offer you access to use our games, apps, products, websites, and other services, as well as virtual items as defined in section 4 below, and your account as explained in section 122 below. This agreement is a legal contract between you and Take-Two. By accessing our services, you are agreeing to be bound by the terms of this agreement.
Nothing in this agreement is intended to limit or exclude your rights under any mandatory consumer laws in your jurisdiction of residence. If you do not agree to all the terms in this agreement, you are not permitted to use the services or any virtual items or to create an account. Please read this agreement carefully and take particular care when reviewing these sections. Section 6, user rules. When using our services, you have the obligation and responsibility to help us ensure that services are inclusive and respectful for all users and our employees and contractors. You must follow the user rules in Section 6 while using the services, virtual items, or your account. Section 17, mandatory arbitration. This agreement contains a mandatory arbitration clause and a waiver of class action and jury trial rights for all users residing in the United States and any other territory other than Australia, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, or the territories of the European Economic Area for covered users. Unless you opt out via the process in Section 17.5, you will be bound by the arbitration agreement. This means that you and Take-Two will be required to resolve any disputes subject to any exceptions by final and binding individual arbitration. The arbitration clause waives your right to a jury trial and to participate in class action, trial actions, and all other types of court proceedings. Unless you validly opt out, you endure that you understand and expressly agree to the mandatory arbitration clause and class action jury trial waiver. Please see Section 17 of this agreement for more information about mandatory arbitration, the effect on your legal rights, and your time limit to right to opt out. 1. Your use of the services. 1. Age restrictions and legal responsibility. As used in this agreement, you or your means the individual user interacting with our services, or if such user is below the minimum legal age of adulthood in their country of residence.
Minor.
The user's parent or legal guardian entering into this agreement on their behalf. Minors must ask their parent or guardian to review and explain this agreement to them, and to agree to this agreement on their behalf. If you accept this agreement on behalf of a minor, you should supervise the minor's use of the services, including any virtual items or account used by that minor. If you are the parent or guardian of a minor and you agreed to this agreement on their behalf, you agree that you will be responsible for all uses of the services, including any virtual items or accounts, by that minor, whether or not such uses were explicitly authorized by you. You are legally and financially responsible for all of your actions while using or accessing the services, including the actions of anyone you allow to access the services or your account.
1. Your account. Some elements of the services may require that you create an account, whereas for other services an account may be automatically created for you when you access the services for the first time.
To create an account, you may be asked to provide your age information and country region, and then provide an email address, a username, a password, and such other information as we may deem necessary in connection with the creation of your account, all of which will be processed and stored in accordance with our privacy policy. You must provide accurate, current, and complete information about you when creating an account. You are responsible for keeping your account username and password secret. You also agree not to sell, transfer, or share your account or your account's username or password, and you agree to notify us immediately if you suspect any unauthorized use of your account. We have the right to deny the creation of any account for any legitimate reason, and when we reserve the right to terminate any account that violates this agreement in accordance with the termination provisions below, and to delete any account information in accordance with our privacy policy. license 2. Forward 1. We reserve all rights to our IP. We and our licensors own and reserve all rights, title, and interest in and to the services, virtual items, and your account, including all information, text, data, files, code, scripts, designs, graphics, artwork, illustration, photographs, sounds, music, titles, scenes, objects, characters, names, dialogue, location, stories, plot, animation, concepts, audio, visual effects, interactive features, gameplay, methods of operation, the compilation, assembly, and arrangement of the materials of the services, virtual items, or your account, and all other copyrightable material, trademarks, logos, trade names, trade dress, service marks, and trade identities of various parties, including ours, and other forms of intellectual property, all of the foregoing collectively content. 2. Personal, non-commercial use only, subject to the terms of this agreement. We grant you a limited, non-exclusive, non-transferable, non-subleasable, revocable license to access and use the services, including virtual items, and your account for your personal, non-commercial enjoyment. The services, virtual items, or your account, including the content, but excluding any tangible medium. The services may be supplied on or licensed, not sold. This license is personal to you only and does not give you any ownership rights in any of the services, virtual items, or your account, or in or to any of their features or content. 2, 3. Restrictions. The limited license granted in this agreement does not give you any right to, and you may not sell, copy, except under applicable legal exceptions, such as the private copy exception under applicable law. Loan, lease, distribute, disassemble, decompile, decrypt, hack, derive source code from reverse engineer, except where permitted under applicable legal exceptions deriving from EU Directive 2009/24 or other applicable law. Modify, create derivative works, commercialize, or otherwise exploit the services, virtual items, or your account, unless subject to separate express written terms provided by Take-Two permitting such conduct without limiting the foregoing. Nothing in the limited license granted in this agreement authorizes the use of the services, including the content, virtual items, or your account in any manner to develop, train, enhance, or provide source material for, or promote any generative AI tools. And any such uses are hereby explicitly prohibited. Generative AI tools means any tool or computer program that uses algorithms or technology commonly known as artificial intelligence or machine learning to create or generate content such as, but not limited to, software code, written text, still or moving images, musical works, human voice emulation, audio material, or other creative works based on text, image, sound, prompts, or other inputs. 2, 4, for legal effect. This license describes certain legal rights. You may have other rights under the laws of your state or country. This license does not change your rights under the laws of your state or country if the laws of your state or country don't permit it to do so. Modifications to this agreement. We reserve the right to modify this agreement in whole or in part at any time. If you do not wish to agree to the modified agreement, you may terminate your use of the services, but you will remain liable for any unpaid amounts due and payable to any digital storefront as set out in section 9 below. If you do not agree to the modified agreement, you may also lose access to the services or your account once the modified agreement takes effect. If we materially modify this agreement, we will try to notify you of any such modifications and of the consequences of not accepting the modified agreement in advance of the modified agreement taking effect by actively accepting the modified agreement, or by continuing to use the services after the modified agreement becomes effective. You agree to be bound by the modified terms of this agreement.
For virtual items.
For what one virtual items mean any in-game virtual currency, goods, items, boost, or effects, such as, but not limited to coins, points, gems, tokens, weapons, vehicles, cards, skins, power-ups, apparel, equipment, trophies, rewards, badges, or any other in-game virtual asset made available, purchased from a digital storefront, earned, or which you may otherwise acquire through the services.
For part 2, right of virtual items, take 2 reserves all rights to and ownership of all virtual items under applicable law. Virtual items are licensed under the terms of this agreement. Nothing in this agreement transfers to you any ownership, interest, or other permanent, perpetual, or irrevocable rights in such virtual items. Virtual items are only available to users in certain locations, and unless otherwise stated in your agreement with the relevant digital storefront, you may not purchase or use virtual items if you are not in an approved location. Virtual items may only be redeemed for content made available through the services, which is generally game-specific. Virtual items have no monetary value, cannot be used outside of the services, and may not be sold, transferred, or redeemed for real money or items of value outside of the service unless subject to separate express written terms provided by Take-Two permitting such conduct. We have the right to modify, delete, move, remove, or suspend any virtual items at any time with or without notice to you, and with no liability of any kind to you. We may limit the total amount of virtual items that may be held for any one game, or that may be held in your account in the aggregate. We may limit the period of time during which you may hold or use virtual items related to any particular game or other aspect of the services. Additionally, the price and availability of virtual items to purchase or acquire are subject to change. You agree that you have no ownership or other rights in or to any virtual items or your account.
Five culture content.
Content heavy silly sense.
5 user generated
Content
Your GC includes all digital content or communications that users create, upload, or distribute via the services, including but not limited to text, posts, audio, or audio-visual communications, code, scripts, textures, models, maps, files, or other assets or documents, photos, images, video, or any other audio or audio-visual works, and any feedback or suggestions related to the services.
UGC Pacific link to find below. You are solely responsible for the UGC that you create, upload, or distribute via the service.
You're a UGC, and you hereby represent to us that your UGC will not violate this agreement, including without limitation the terms of Section 6.
552 rights to UGC.
You retain whatever rights, if any, you may have under applicable law in your UGC. If you do hold any such rights to your UGC, including any copyright or other intellectual property interest, then, in an exchange for the rights licensed to you in this agreement, you hereby grant us an irrevocable, worldwide, royalty-free, non-exclusive, and sublicensible right to use, reproduce, edit, modify, adapt, create derivative works based on, publish, distribute, transmit, publicly display, communicate to the public, publicly perform, and otherwise exploit, or UGC, within or via the services, or for any other commercial and non-commercial purpose related to the services, including but not limited to the improvement of the services, without compensation or notice for the full duration of the intellectual property rights pertaining to your UGC, including all revivals, reversions, and extensions of those rights, without limiting the foregoing. The rights licensed to Take-Two herein explicitly include the right for Take-Two to allow other users to use your UGC as part of our operation of the services by creating, uploading, or distributing your UGC to or via the services. You represent to us that you own any rights in and to your UGC on a sole and unencumbered basis, and that any such rights you grant to us in this section and our exploitation of those rights will not violate or infringe the rights of any third parties.
5.3 Custom content.
Some of our services allow you to use our tools, editing software, in-game functionality, or other features provided by us, our tools, to edit the content to. For example, create custom levels, maps, in-game assets, designs, apparel, characters, livery, courses, games, or other content based on the content.
Custom content.
Custom content includes, without limitation, all content created using our tools, including in-game assets, maps, screenshots, videos, recordings of in-game audio, gameplay clips, and live streams. You may only use custom content with the services and or only as authorized by us. You are solely responsible for the custom content you create and agree that such custom content will not violate this agreement, including without limitation the terms in Section 6.5.4 Rights to Custom Content. Take-Two reserves all rights to an ownership of all custom content under applicable law. If under applicable law your creation of custom content results in you holding any intellectual property rights in such custom content, then in exchange for the rights licensed to you in this agreement, you hereby freely assign us upon the creation of such custom content all right, title, and interest in and to such custom content, including but not limitation or all intellectual property rights throughout, including all revolves aversion to such intellectual property rights, including all revivals, reversions, and extensions of those rights, without limiting the foregoing. The rights licensed to Take-Two herein explicitly include the right for Take-Two to allow other users to use such custom content as part of our operation of the services.
6.3 Code of Conduct. You will not use exploits or illegal or unauthorized means to interfere with or adversely impact any other user's ability to use the services as intended to gain unfair gameplay advantage or to gain access to virtual items or other content to which you do not have valid entitlement. This includes the use of cheats or so-called mod menus, unauthorized mods, hacks, glitches, or any other technique or exploits, and phishing, scamming, or social engineering. You will not use the services to create, upload, or distribute any user material that violates or invades another person's privacy. This includes doxing, i.e. sharing or threatening to share information to embarrass, intimidate, harm, or harass another person. You will not use the services to engage in fraud or to create, upload, or distribute any user material that is knowingly or intentionally misleading, false, or fraudulent. You will not use the services to engage in spam, i.e. repeatedly or periodically misuse a communication channel in a way that disrupts or interferes with the operations of the services, advertises any third-party product or service, or adversely impacts any other user's ability to use the services as intended. You will not use the services to create, upload, or distribute any user material that contains actual or shockingly realistic depictions or descriptions of gore, excessive violence, torture, or animal cruelty. This includes all depictions of such content regardless of whether the user material is real or manipulated media, animation, computer-generated imagery, or other digital creation.
use the services to create, upload, or distribute any user material or engage in conduct that depicts, promotes, or attempts to normalize, encourage, or knowingly result in another person's eating disorder, suicide, or other acts of physical self-harm or endangerment. This includes user material or conduct that is reasonably understood to facilitate, encourage, or instruct another person to physically harm or starve themselves, to consume dangerous amounts of alcohol, drugs, or other substances, or to engage any dangerous real-world stunt, challenge, or unsanctioned activity that is likely to result in serious injury to themselves or others. You will not use the services to create, upload, or distribute any user material or engage in conduct that is pornographic, obscene, or is bullying, harassing, or is reasonably understood to be a physical or verbal threat against another person. This includes user material that is defamatory in conduct, such as camping, griefing, stream sniping, swatting, or other abusive in-game behavior. You will not use the services to create, upload, or distribute any user material or engage in conduct that is pornographic, obscene, or sexually harassing. This includes distributing unsolicited or unwanted sexually suggestive user material, engaging in unsolicited or unwanted sexual sexualization of another person, making threats or attacks based on other person's actual, perceived, or supposed sexuality or sexual activity, or the unauthorized sharing of another's intimate or sexually explicit content without their consent, i.e., revenge porn. You will not use the services to create, upload, or distribute any user material or engage in conduct that depicts, promotes, or supports violent extremism or terrorism. This excludes any user material or conduct which is reasonably understood as endorsing or supporting extremist violence or the perpetrators of such acts, and promoting extremist ideologies or conspiracy theories that encourage or incite violence against others, so it suckers in Sueva.
You will following additional rules set out in the individual community standards that may apply to your use of specific games, apps, products, or websites within the services, all of which incorporated herein by reference. In addition to the foregoing, you will not use the services to create, upload, or distribute any other user material or engage in any other conduct that is or promotes anything illegal, harmful, or that we otherwise deem to be inappropriate for the relevant services, or attempt or conspire to commit any of the violations specified in this section 6.4. No technical exploits. You agree that you will not use IP proxying or other methods to disguise your location or place of residence. Includes circumventing geographical restrictions on access to content, access controls, or technical protective measures, or aging in activities that are unlawful based on applicable local law. You will not, unless subject to separate express written terms provided by Take-Two, use the services via or copy any content to a remote server, virtual PC, or other system or network, including, without limitation, one that enables or purports to enable such services or content to be downloaded or streamed to one or more separate internet-enabled devices. You will not use, promote, or make available any bug, glitch, exploit, cheat, mod, menu hack, script, bot, unauthorized mod, or other methods that interact with the services resulting in a breach. This agreement, this includes any such methods that to collect information or user data, exploit system vulnerabilities, circumvent content moderation or filtering systems, or otherwise intercept, redirect, or interfere with the operation of the services as intended. You will not reverse engineer, decompile, or disassemble except where permitted under applicable legal exceptions deriving from UDU Directive 2009-24, other applicable law. Display, perform, prepared derivative works based on or otherwise modify the services in whole or in part without or explicit prior written consent. You will not use the services to distribute, upload, or transmit any software, scripts, code, or other information, including but not limited to any virus, worm, timebot, cancelbot, Trojan horse, hacks, or other harmful code to modify or alter the services in any unauthorized way, or to transmit such information. 6. Would
5. Supporting or encouraging violations. You agree that you will not provide user material support to another user's violation or attempted violation of this agreement.
This includes providing financial support, know-how, expertise, or other assistance, or repeated encouragement to engage in conduct that violates this agreement. 6'6" applicability to employees, agents, and contractors. For clarity, the rules for conduct and behavior in the Section 6 apply to your communications and interactions with Take-Two's employees, agents, and contractors, including without limitation individuals on our customer support, engineering, security, or community teams.
7 consequences for violations. Notification of law enforcement if you breach the agreement, including, without limitation, the user rules in this Section 6.
Amended from time to time.
Take-Two reserves the right to take adverse action against you. Adverse action may include, without limitation, resetting some or all in-game progress associated with your account, suspending your access to some or all the services, virtual items, or your account, terminating your access to some or all of the services, virtual items, or your account in accordance with the termination provisions below, barring you from creating an account or accessing the services in the future, or taking appropriate legal action to enforce this agreement or other rights under applicable law. We may notify law enforcement or other government agency or regulatory body and provide any associated personal data as set out in our privacy policy. If the breach involves a threat to the life or safety of yourself or others, or any other activity that we believe to be unlawful, we reserve the right to take adverse action against you based on information we might receive from third parties, including without limitation other users, law enforcement, government agencies, or other regulatory authorities. We are not liable for any violation of this agreement by you or by any other user.
7. Content moderation, reporting harmful or illegal content. In the Section 7, user material means all UGC and custom content.
7.1 Moderation. We reserve the right to moderate the use of the services for a variety of different purposes, including to prevent cheating and hacking, detect, modify, take down, suppress, block, hide, remove, or delete illegal or harmful user material. Ensure your compliance with this agreement, enforce the terms of this agreement, and improve the services. We have no obligation to host, maintain, support, or distribute
User material.
We reserve the right to modify, take down, suppress, block, hide, remove, or delete any or all
User material and report any illegal user material and any related user information to the appropriate authorities. We have not necessarily reviewed and are not obligated to actively monitor any user material that may be available via the services. We do not confirm the security, quality, or originality of any user material, and the user material available on the services does not represent the views of Take-Two or its management, employees, or any other person associated with us.
7.2 User tools. Reporting harmful or illegal content. The services may include tools to enable users to control their interactions with other users, such as allowing users to opt into in-game text chat or voice communications, or to enable users to mute or block other users. If you are aware of user material or user conduct on the services that violates the user rules in Section 6 of this agreement, you may notify us using the reporting tools located in-game or on our related customer support websites. Report! Please visit customer support for more information about how to submit a report about user material or user conduct that violates the user rules. By submitting a report, you confirm that you have a good faith belief that the user material or user conduct identified in your report violates this agreement, and that the information provided in your report is accurate and complete.
7.3 Notice to users consistent with our obligations under applicable law. We will try to notify you as soon as reasonably practicable relating to our decision on a report or appeal.
or if we moderate your UGC or the custom content you create, or take adverse action against you because of your UGC or the custom content you create. Our notice will try to explain the effect that any such decision or action may have on your account, your UGC, custom content, service access, or entitlements, and if applicable, your ability to submit an appeal. 7, Torn for availability of appeal. Where appropriate, we may provide you with the ability to appeal decisions we make related to report you submit, or when we take adverse action against your account, your user material.
Each an appeal.
When appeal is available, the related notice will include details about how to submit an appeal if you wish to do so. If available, an appeal may only be submitted if you have a good faith belief that our enforcement decision was incorrect. Please note that the time in which you may submit an appeal is limited to the period indicated in the related notice. Any abuse of the appeal system is itself a violation of this agreement and may result in further adverse action being taken against your account.
7.5 Use of automated systems. The services may employ moderation and filtering systems, such as automated word filters and content or symbol recognition software, which are intended to prevent or cease the distribution of user material that violates this agreement. The features and tools described above may incorporate algorithms, artificial intelligence, machine learning, or other automated systems to help us accomplish the purposes described in Sections 6 and 7 at the scale and scope needed to effectively maintain the services for our users. Moderation and filtering systems may vary among services, including based on the content, age rating, or target audience of a particular service.
More information on how we monitor and collect data regarding the use of the services can be found in our privacy policy. For more information about reporting violations of our policies, please visit customer support.
Your name, address, telephone number, and email address. A detailed description of the copyrighted work that you claim has been infringed. The URL, or a detailed description of where the material that you claim is infringing is located. Your statement that you have a good faith belief that disputed use is not authorized by the copyright owner, its agent, or applicable law. Your statement, under penalty of perjury, that the information in your notice is accurate and that you, the copyright owner, are authorized to act on behalf of the copyright owner, and a physical or electronic signature of owner of the copyrighted issue or person authorized to act on their behalf. Our designated agent contact information is software. Under 10W 4th Street, New York, then 146, United States of America. Copyright that end of a D, copyright at score 6. Key may be 1 break 4 2, key may be why it won't. Please note that under the DMCA, you may be liable for damages if you knowingly material or activity is infringing. Please also note that the information provided in your copyright infringement notice may be provided to the person responsible for the allegedly infringing material.
9 Purchases, billing, and some subscriptions. 911 Digital Storefront. Some aspects of the services and some virtual items may require you to pay a fee through a storefront operated by us or a third party.
Each a digital storefront.
Your contractual partner in providing these services and virtual items to you will be the digital storefront.
Your purchase through the digital storefront
Is subject to any applicable terms or conditions imposed by the digital storefront,
storefront.
all of which are incorporated herein by reference. You are responsible for all charges in relation to your purchase from such digital storefront.
And must provide accurate and complete payment information to the digital storefront.
We may suspend or cancel the applicable services or supply of virtual items.
If the digital storefront
Informs us that they did not receive full payment from you after reasonable prior notification, or if you obtain or attempt to obtain refunds in violation of the applicable digital storefront's policies, suspension or cancellation of the services or virtual items for non-payment to the digital storefront could result in a loss of access to and use of your account and any content or services. For the avoidance of doubt, we have no liability to you in the event that your access to any of the services is terminated by a digital storefront as a result of your breach of their storefront terms.
Some aspects of the services may be offered on a subscription basis with automatic recurring payments at the start of each billing period.
Subscription.
We reserve the right to modify the terms on which such features are offered for purchase at any time on 30 days notice. Please note some subscriptions are offered subject to additional terms and conditions which may modify the terms below. Purchase subscriptions can be purchased from a digital storefront. To use a subscription, you must hold a valid entitlement to the product or service related to the subscription. Have a valid account with the digital storefront, including a current, valid, and accepted method of payment registered to that account, and have an internet connection. The digital storefront will bill the applicable subscription fee
And any applicable taxes.
fee to your chosen method of payment on each subscription renewal date. After purchase, your subscriptions will activate and you will receive access to the benefits associated with the subscription listed at the time of your enrollment.
Automatic renewal and cancellation. Your subscription will automatically renew at the end of each billing period. The digital storefront will charge your payment method for the then current fee unless you cancel your subscription through the applicable digital storefront before your current billing period ends. You may cancel a subscription at any time, which will prevent auto-renewal and terminate the subscription at the end of your current billing period or at such other time as is permitted under the storefront terms. If you cancel, you will continue to receive benefits until the subscription terminates. Please see the storefront terms for applicable refund policies, if any.
3. Changes to subscriptions. The terms of any subscription and the benefits included in such subscriptions may change from time to time. Benefits changes may include altering or removing previously claimed benefits. Take-Two may also retire a subscription at any time on no less than 30 days notice. Any such changes will be updated on the digital storefront subscription product page and or via own subscription product page. And you may receive notice from Take-Two and or the digital storefront about any material changes before they occur. Please read any notification of changes carefully. If you do not cancel your subscription after such notice, then you will be deemed to have accepted those changes. Changes will go into effect upon auto renewal of your subscription or the date on which you otherwise explicitly accept any such changes if earlier.
Status availability, updates and features, tender 1 availability, specific services, virtual items, content or your account may be offered or remain available to you for a limited time. Availability of specific services, virtual items, content or your account may vary depending on your region or device. If you change regions without prejudice to our portability obligations under applicable law, and depending on your agreement with the applicable digital storefront, you may need to reacquire or repurchase certain services, virtual items, or content acquired in your previous region. Similarly, if you change regions, you may no longer be able to access certain services, content, or virtual items that you were able to access in your previous region. If such services, content, or virtual items are prohibited by the applicable laws of your new region, specific services may be offered as part of a playtest, early access release, or other similar offering. An in-development service. You acknowledge that such in-development services are not complete and may not necessarily change further or proceed to final commercial release, and that any virtual items, content, and or accounts associated with such in-development services may only be available for a limited time. We do not guarantee that we will indefinitely support the version of the operating system or device for which you licensed, obtained, or purchased any part of the services unless we have made claims regarding compatibility. 10.2 Updates, modifications, and sunset. We may provide patches, updates, or upgrades to the services, virtual items, content, or your account that may be required for you to continue using the services, including automatic or in the background updates without notice to you. Such updates are subject to this agreement unless other terms are presented with the updates, in which case those other terms apply. We are not obligated to make any updates available. We may modify, alter, or suspend, or sunset, or terminate, whether in whole or in part, any of our services, virtual items for a valid reason. Valid reasons include, without limitation, improvement of our services, virtual items, content, or your account, such as offering new features or enhancing the safety or security of our users or third parties. Changes necessary for game balance, to fix bugs, or to prevent or counter exploits. Changes due to new technical requirements or an increased or decreased number of users. Changes resulting from our investigation of or efforts to enforce against breaches of this agreement. Changes to or termination of agreements or licenses we have with third parties. Interruption or termination of third-party services or features that are part of, connected with, or a dependency of our services, virtual item, content, or your account. Changes due to specific and verifiable open market costs or other material, legal, regulatory, or security reasons. 10.3 Auto-generated players. As part of certain services, we may offer you the opportunity to play with other live players as teammates or matched opponents to ensure that you have available participants at the right skill level. Some of these teammates or matched opponents may be computer-controlled entities that appear as and intended to play like real players. 10.4 Third-party services. Through the services, you may have the option to access or enable content, software, apps, products, websites, platforms, functionality, and services operated by third parties that are not part of Take-Two or otherwise under our control. Third-party services. If you choose to access, transact with, enable, or otherwise interact with any such third-party services, you understand that you are directing the applicable third-party entity to make such third-party services available to you. You are responsible for your dealings with third parties when you use our services to access third-party services. Any applicable usage terms associated with the third-party services will govern your use of that third-party service. We do not endorse any third-party services made available or marketed on or through the services. We do not license any intellectual property rights to you as part of any third-party services, and we are not responsible or liable to you or others for any third-party services or for the results, information, content, or interactions you may encounter while using them. Any concerns you have regarding such third-party services, let's be directed to the provider of such third-party services.
10.5
5. Internet-based services. The services may require in connection to the internet via a wireless or cellular network, and as a result may therefore receive certain information about the device, system, or software you use to connect to the services. Any such information is collected and used by us in accordance with our privacy policy.
You are solely responsible for the maintenance and reliability of your internet connection at your own cost, and for any network usage fees which may arise from your access to the services.
26 third-party content. Some of the services may include advertisements for or links to third-party websites, content, goods, promotions, or services.
Third-party advertisers.
We are not responsible for nor control the content of any third-party or party. And the inclusion of such third-party advertising in the services does not mean that we either endorse or approve of such third-party advertising or the website content, goods, promotion, services, or business practices of the third-party providers of such third-party advertising. Your responsibilities to us, you agreed to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless. Take two from and against any and all direct liabilities, damages, losses arising out of or in connection with your breach of this agreement. 2. Any information or content provided by you that infringes the rights of a third party when used by us in accordance with this agreement. And 3. Your unlawful acts or omissions, we can assist at our own expense in the defense of any matter subject to indemnification by you. And in such case, you agree to cooperate with us, and we will take reasonable steps to mitigate our losses. However, you are not required to indemnify. Take 2. In respect of any liabilities, damages, or losses arising out of or in connection with the negligent acts or omissions, fraud, or willful misconduct by Take 2. Take 2's officers, employees, contractors, or agents, or to the extent you are not responsible for the breach.
You are solely responsible for any third-party costs you incur to use the services, virtual items, or your account.
12 termination, 12.1.1 by you. You may terminate this agreement any time by stopping your use of the services, virtual items, and your account, destroying or deleting all copies of any materials or software in your possession, and 3. Deleting your account. You may request that we delete your account and your personal information as provided under our privacy policy. 12.2 by Take 2 for any services, virtual items, and or account provided to you for an indefinite period of time. We have the right to terminate this agreement and your access to the services, virtual items, and your account, or cease providing such services at any time for any reason in our sole discretion. If we have a reasonable means to contact you and where practicable, we will try to inform you reasonably in advance of any such termination or cessation of service taking can affect. Where it is not practicable to inform you in advance, we will try to inform you promptly afterwards. If your habitual residency is in Germany, the right of both parties to extraordinary termination for good cause shall remain unaffected. Good cause exists if the terminating party, taking into account all circumstances of the individual case and weighing the interests of both parties, cannot reasonably be expected to continue the contractual relationship until the agreed termination or until the expiry of a notice period. 12.3.3 Termination for breach. We may immediately terminate or suspend your right to access any aspect of the services, virtual items, content, subscriptions, and or your account if you breach this agreement, use the services, virtual items, or your account fraudulently, illegally, or in any manner other than for its intended purposes, initiate any adverse proceeding against us, or if we are under illegal obligation to do so. If we decide to terminate or suspend your right to access some or all of the services, virtual item subscriptions, or your account, we will try to inform you in advance of such termination or suspension unless the action is taken under a legal obligation that does not require us to inform you, or if it is not practicable for us to do so. 12.4 before effect of termination or license you acknowledge and agree that if this agreement is terminated or we end your right to access any of the services, virtual items, content, subscriptions, or your account in accordance with the terms of this agreement, the license is granted to you under this agreement or in respect of such services, virtual items, content, or account shall immediately terminate. 13 photosensitive seizure warning. A very small percentage of individuals may experience epileptic seizures when exposed to certain light patterns or flashing lights, including some of the visual effects that appear in certain video games. Symptoms may even be experienced by individuals with no history of epilepsy or photosensitivity. If you or anyone in your family have an epileptic or photosensitivity condition, please consult your physician before playing any of our video games. If you experience any of the following symptoms while playing any of our video games, immediately discontinue use and consult your physician before resuming play. Dizziness, altered vision, eye or muscle twitches, loss of awareness, disorientation, any involuntary movement or convulsions. 14 miscellaneous. 14.1 general. This agreement, together with any documents or policies linked to herein, is the entire agreement between you and us for your use of the services. It supersedes any prior written agreements between you and us regarding your use of the same. You agree that we may assign this agreement, in whole or in part, at any time. You may not assign your rights or transfer your obligations under this agreement or transfer any rights to use the services, virtual items, or your account. If your habitual residence is in Germany, the preceding sentence does not apply to any monetary claims you may have against us which arise from this agreement. If any provision of this agreement is held to be unenforceable for any reason, such provision shall either be reformable only extent necessary, make it enforceable or removed from the agreement entirely, and the remaining provisions of this agreement shall remain affected. Sections 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 9, 12, 14, and those that by their nature apply after this agreement ends will survive any termination or cancellation of this agreement. Either party may disclose information related to this agreement or use of the service as necessary to satisfy any law, regulation, legal process, or governmental request.
14.2.2 Export Laws. You must comply with all applicable domestic and international export laws and regulations, which may be amended from time to time, that apply to the services, virtual items, or your account, which include restrictions on destinations, users, and use you agree not to use, export, re-export, download, or otherwise transfer any part of the services, virtual items, or your account into or to a national or resident of any country to which the U.S. has embargoed goods, or to anyone on the U.S. Treasury Department's list of specially designated nationals and blocked persons list, and other sanctions lists administered by the Office of Foreign Assets Control. You represent and warrant that you are not located in, under the control of, or a national or resident of an embargoed country, and that you are not a specifically designated national or blocked person.
If you have any questions or concerns about the services, virtual items, your account, or this agreement, please visit
Take-Two's customer support and submit a support ticket. Take-Two's customer support provides a single point of contact for you to communicate with. Take-Two, we try to review and respond to all support tickets as soon as reasonably practicable.
law enforcement, regulators, national authorities, and trusted flaggers wishing to contact Take-Two must visit Take-Two Law Enforcement and follow the instructions set out therein in order to correspond with and provide effective service on Take-Two. Take-Two Law Enforcement provides a single point of contact for law enforcement, regulators, national authorities, and trusted flaggers to communicate with Take-Two and its legal representatives.
16. Governing law, disputes and liability.
UK. If you are habitually resident in Australia, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, or any territory in the European Economic Area, the terms of this Section 16 apply to your legal contract with Take-Two. If you habitually reside outside of these territories or jurisdictions, please see Section 17 below. 16.1 Governing law and jurisdiction.
This agreement shall be governed by and construed under the laws of your country of residence without regard to conflict of laws rules. The exclusive jurisdiction for all disputes will be the competent courts of your country of habitual residence. 16.2. Limitations of our liability in no event shall take two. Be liable to you for any indirect losses or damages, or for any breach of its obligations due to a force majeure event, arising out of or in connection with the services or this agreement. Nothing in this agreement is intended to exclude any non-excludable rights or damages that cannot be excluded under applicable law, including without a limitation any liability for fraud or for death or any personal injury arising as a result of our negligence. If any applicable law provides that there is a guarantee in relation to any good or service supplied by us in connection with this agreement, and our liability for failing to comply with that guarantee cannot be excluded, but may be limited, then our liability for such failure is limited to at our election. In the case of a supply of goods, us replacing the goods or supplying equivalent goods, repairing the goods, or providing you with a full or partial refund, or in the case of a supply of services, us supplying the services again, providing you with a refund for the unused portion or compensation for its reduced value.
17. Governing law, disputes and liability, United States and rest of world. If you are habitually resident in the United States or any territory other than Australia, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, or any territory in the European Economic Area, the terms of this section 17 apply to your legal contract with Take-Two. If you habitually reside in Australia, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, or any territory in the European Economic Area, please see section 16 of 17.1. Governing law and jurisdiction. This agreement is entered into in the state of New York and shall be governed by and construed under the laws of the state of New York without regard to conflict of law rules, except as otherwise expressly set out in section 17.5. The exclusive jurisdiction for all claims or causes of action between you and Take-Two are the state and federal courts located in New York County, New York, and you and Take-Two each accept personal jurisdiction and waive all objections to venue in such courts.
17.2. Warranty disclaimer: to the fullest extent permitted by applicable law, the services are provided to you as is, as what to, and with all faults. Neighbor Take-Two, any of the Two-to storefront, nor any of our or their respective officers, directors, managers, employees, agents, or leasers make any representations, warranties, promises, or guarantees of any kind whatsoever as to the software, content, third-party services, or other services, whether express or implied, statutory or otherwise. Neither Take-Two nor any of the Two-to storefront warrant that the services or third-party services will be accurate or reliable, unitary, timely, secure, error-free, or free of abuses to the fullest extent permitted by Wodo Yolokolo. Take-Two and each the Two-to storefront disclaim any implied warranties calling for non-infringement merchantability, faults for a particular purpose, and satisfactory quality.
17.3. Limited hardware warranty. We warrant to the original consumer purchaser of the services that the physical storage media containing the services, goods, if any, will be free from defects in material and workmanship for 90 days from the date of purchase under normal use. If the goods are found to be defective within 90 days of the original purchase, we agree to replace, free of charge, the applicable defective goods within the applicable 90-day period upon our receipt of the goods.
Postage paid with proof of the date of purchase.
So long as the goods are still being manufactured by us, if the goods are no longer available, we reserve the right to substitute similar goods of equal or greater value. This warranty is limited to the goods as originally provided by us and is not applicable to normal wear and tear. This warranty shall not apply if the claimed defect arises through abuse, misuse, mistreatment, or neglect of the applicable goods.
To the fullest extent permitted while you applicable law. This warranty is in lieu of all other warranties, express or implied.
Please contact customer support for assistance with the limited warranty above. 17.4.
Limitations of our liability to the fullest extent permitted by applicable law. In no event shall Take-Two or any of the storefront be liable to you for any indirect, spatial, accidental, exemplary, consequential, or punitive losses or damages, or alleges for system failure or malfunction or loss of privacy, data, use, business, or goodwill, arising out of or in connection with the services or this agreement, whether arising in contract, tort, strict liability, statute, or any other legal or equitable theory.
In the event you have any basis for recovering damages arising from the services or a breach of this agreement, you agree that your exclusive remedy is limited to recovery of direct damages and the maximum liability is limited to the greater of USD 500, or the amount you have spent on the services at issue in your claim in the 24 months preceding the date your claim arose.
The limitations and disclaimers in this agreement do not purport to limit liability or alter your rights as a user that cannot be excluded or limited under applicable law. With respect to this agreement, any provisions concerning the exclusion or limitation of certain damages are not applicable in New Jersey with respect to punitive damages, loss of data, and loss of or damage to property.
17.5 Dispute Resolution. Arbitration, waiver of class actions and jury trials if you have an issue with the services that cannot be resolved by contacting customer support. This section 17.5 explains how you and Take-Two agree to resolve any disputes by informal negotiation, binding individual arbitration, or small claims court, subject to limited exceptions described below. Agreement to binding individual arbitration, subject to the claims excluded in Section 17.5.9. The dispute means any dispute, claim, or controversy arising from or related to the services, including related to the formation, breach, termination, enforcements, scope, validity, or applicability of the agreement or the arbitration agreement, or your rights under those agreements. If you and Take-Two cannot resolve your dispute through the informal negotiation process in Section 17.5, we agree that any disputes between us shall be exclusively resolved by individual binding arbitration under this arbitration agreement. All disputes are subject to the terms in this arbitration agreement. The U.S. Federal Arbitration Act and federal arbitration law. This arbitration agreement applies to all disputes between the parties, whether the dispute arose before or after the parties accepted this agreement. The arbitrator, not a federal, state, or local court or government agency, shall have exclusive authority to resolve any dispute, including those related to the interpretation, applicability, enforceability, or formation of this arbitration agreement, and any claim that all or part of the arbitration agreement is void or voidable. The arbitrator or process administrator, as applicable, shall have authority to determine all threshold arbitrability issues, including related to whether the agreement or the arbitration agreement are unconscionable or illusory, whether the arbitration agreement has been disaffirmed under applicable law, and any defense to arbitration, including waiver, delay, laches, or estoppel. The arbitrator may award the same remedies as a court could, but only to the extent required to satisfy the individual dispute at issue. Class action, litigation, jury trial, waiver, you and Take-Two each waive all rights to a trial by jury in any action or proceeding involving any disputes in any form. You and Take-Two each waive all rights to participate in any purported class, collective, representative, third-party claim or consolidated action or proceeding in court. Likewise, disputes shall be arbitrated on an individual, non-class, and non-representative basis, which means that the arbitrator will resolve your individual dispute with Take-Two separate from any other dispute, provided, however, that under Section 17.5, the arbitrator or process administrator may consolidate or join more than one dispute as part of a mass arbitration. The arbitrator may award relief permitted by applicable law only with respect to the individual party or parties seeking relief, but shall not award relief respecting any person other than the specific party or parties to dispute. Applicability, your right to opt out. This binding individual arbitration requirement will not apply to the extent prohibited by the laws of your country or state of residence. Additionally, you have the right to opt out of this arbitration agreement. If you wish to opt out, you must notify us in writing within 30 days of the date that you first accept this agreement. Opt out notice. Unless a longer period is required by applicable law, you're opt opt-out notice must be sent by mail or professional courier service to Take-Two Interactive Software in ink, dated black and white illustration on 1010 West 44th Street, New York, NY 100-66, United States of America. To be valid, the opt-out notice must include your name and mailing address, the registered email, your account name, and your user ID number, if any, that you use in connection with the services, and a clear signed statement that you do not agree to the arbitration agreement. You are responsible for ensuring our receipt of your opt-out notice. You therefore may want to send your notice using a delivery method that provides you with a written receipt of delivery. For clarity, if you accepted a previous version of the arbitration agreement and did not opt out, your opt-out notice will be limited to the materially updated terms of this version in this case. In this case, you and Take-Two will still arbitrate any dispute under the terms of the arbitration agreement as of the date you first agreed to it or the effective date of the last version of the arbitration agreement you accepted as indicated by the last updated date above, whichever is later.
Pre-arbitration and formal dispute resolution, except for claims brought under Section 17.5. Any dispute between you and Take-Two must be resolved through the steps in this Section 17.4. It is important that the parties work through this process to attempt to resolve a dispute before resorting to arbitration. Accordingly, the parties agree that no arbitration service provider may initiate an arbitration or charge or accept any fees without the parties' compliance with this Section 17.5. And if such an arbitration proceeding has been filed, it must be terminated or dismissed. Either party may initiate court proceedings to enjoin the filing or continuation of an arbitration if the requirements of Section 17.5 have not been met. Step 9. Notice of dispute. If you have a dispute with us, you must send written notice of the dispute to us at the following address by U.S. mail or professional courier service.
Take-Two Interactive Software in
the level department notice of dispute,
110 West 44th Street,
New York, NY 136,
United States of America.
If Take-Two has a dispute with you, we will send our notice of dispute to your registered email address and any billing address you have provided us, or if these options are not available, to other reasonable contact information you have provided us.
To be valid, the notice of dispute must include the following information: the name, mailing address, and phone number of the issuing party,
your registered email, account name, and user ID number, if any, that you use in connection with the services, the game, website, virtual asset, or other element of the service at issue, and a reasonably detailed description of the dispute and the proposed resolution. This means that the notice of dispute must include the basic facts and circumstances of the dispute so the receiving party can meaningfully review it. For example, if the dispute relates to a purchase, it must include the date of the transaction, a related order number,
if any,
and the game, virtual item, or service purchased. If the dispute claims a violation of a law or regulation, it must identify the law or regulation and describe the facts specific to the circumstances that resulted in the claim violation.
The notice of dispute must be personally signed by you,
if you are the claimant, or by an authorized representative of Take-Two, if we are the claimant.
Finally, the notice of dispute must be legibly written in English and be printed in no smaller than 10-point font size.
Step 2, informal negotiation to help us get to a resolution faster and reduce the cost for both parties. You and Take Two agree to first attempt to informally negotiate any dispute for at least 45 days, which may be extended, paused, or resumed at any time by mutual written agreement of the parties. The negotiation period. The negotiation period begins on the day you, or Take Two, receive a notice of a dispute that complies with the requirements in step 1 above during the negotiation period. Either you or Take Two may request to talk individually by telephone or video conference regarding the potential for a resolution of the dispute. If either party requests a conference in good faith, the parties will work together to schedule a conference at a mutually convenient time during the negotiation period. If you or Take Two are represented by counsel, such counsel may appear at the conference.
Any statute of limitations period applicable to the dispute will be told during the negotiation period, including any agreed upon modifications or extensions. Neither party has the right to commence an arbitration until such negotiation period has expired.
Step 3. Binding arbitration. If after the expiration of the applicable negotiation period, the parties are unable to resolve the dispute, then the dispute,
excluding claims set out in section 17.5,
will be resolved exclusively via binding individual arbitration. This arbitration will be conducted by the Judicial Arbitration Mediation Services, Inc.
JAMS.
Provided, however, that JAMS is prohibited from initiating any arbitration without the parties' compliance with this section 17.5. And if such an arbitration proceeding has been filed, it must be terminated or dismissed.
Demand for arbitration. The party seeking to initiate arbitration of a dispute must submit a demand for arbitration. Pay any applicable filing fee and mail a copy of the demand for arbitration to its incoming party. If you have a dispute with us, you must send a copy of your demand for arbitration to
Take Two Interactive Software and see to your legal department. Demand for arbitration, United States of America.
If I Take Two has a dispute with you, we will send your copy of our
Demand for arbitration to your registered email address and any billing address you have provided us, or if these options are not available, to other reasonable contact information you have provided us. The demand for arbitration must include a copy of the notice of dispute, be legibly written in English and printed in no smaller than 10-point font size.
Arbitration procedure and Take Two agree that any arbitration between us shall be governed by the then effective JAMS streamlined arbitration rules and procedures as of the date of the notice of dispute and as unmodified by this arbitration agreement. Please see JAMS.com for more information about JAMS and the JAMS rules. You and Take Two agree that the arbitration will be conducted in English and that the arbitrator and process administrator, if any, will be bound by this arbitration agreement. Representation. All parties to an arbitration have the right at their own expense to be represented by counsel of their choosing. The parties agree that their respective counsel, if any, in the arbitration will each be bound by and must certify compliance with Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 11, including to prevent the initiation or pursuit of frivolous or improper claims. Any violations of First CP 11 are subject to sanctions by the arbitrator or process administrator under the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, JAMS rules, or other applicable federal and state law procedures for mass arbitration. A mass arbitration means 25 or more disputes relating to the same or similar subject matter that share common issues of law or fact, and in which the non-Take Two parties or their legal representative are the same or acting in coordination. You and Take Two agree that that if your dispute is part of a mass arbitration, then the dispute shall also be subject to the JAMS mass arbitration procedures and guidelines in effect as of the date of the notice of dispute. The JAMS mass arbitration procedures, the process administrator may decide whether individual notices of dispute are valid under this arbitration agreement. Nothing in this section shall be interpreted as authorizing a consolidated representative group or class proceeding in any court without Take Two's express written consent. Take Two reserves all rights and defenses as to each and any demand for arbitration and claimant discovery and evidence. The arbitrator or process administrator shall make all determinations related to the relevance of discovery and the relevance or admissibility of evidence. Solid of federal rules of evidence is interpreted by the federal courts located in New York County, New York. Dispoxitly motions and clean location. The arbitrator or process administrator shall allow for dispoxipultures the location and defender and subordinates or demiscibility of evidence under the federal rules of evidence as interpreted by the federal courts located in New York County, New York. Dispossessively motions and hearing location. The arbitrator and process administrator shall issue orders providing that the respective proceedings and all notices, pleadings, motions, discovery, responses, testimony, and documents exchanged or filed related to such proceedings be kept strictly confidential. Where supported by applicable law, such orders may provide for confidential materials to be further designated as attorney's eyes only. Fees the parties will bear any arbitration costs as determined by the JAMS rules and JAMS mass arbitration procedures as applicable. Each party shall bear its respective attorney's fees and other costs related to their respective representation in the arbitration, provided, however, that if the arbitrator or process administrator finds that the substance of one or more claims or requested relief in the dispute is frivolous or brought for an improper reason, a prevailing party will be entitled to seek repayment of their reasonable attorney's fees and other costs related to such claims or relief. We're almost done.
Decision and award. The arbitrator will resolve the dispute unless otherwise agreed. Any decision or award shall set forth the factual and legal basis for the award. The arbitrator shall be permitted to award only those remedies permitted by applicable law or inequity, which are supported by credible, relevant evidence as determined under the federal rules of evidence. Unless Take Two expressly consents, the arbitrator may not award relief against Take Two respecting any person other than you or the parties to a mass arbitration. When if applicable, any decision or award may be enforced as a final judgment by any court or competent jurisdiction, or if applicable, application may be made to such court for judicial acceptance of any award and an order of enforcement. The arbitrator's decision is final and binding on the parties except for a limited review by courts under the U.S. Federal Arbitration Act and can be enforced like any other court order or judgment. Time limit for claims to the extent permitted by applicable law. If a dispute must be arbitrated, you or Take Two must start arbitration of all disputes within 2 years of the events giving rise to the dispute. If law applicable to a particular claim requires that it be brought sooner than 2 years after the dispute first arose, then the arbitration must be brought within that earlier time period. Take Two encourages you to tell us about a dispute as soon as possible so we can work to resolve it. Failure to timely engage in dispute resolution will permanently bar all claims, non-arbitrable claims, notwithstanding anything to the contrary herein. If the arbitrator or process administrator may not legally adjudicate or award a particular legal or equitable claim or remedy, such claim or remedy shall be stayed until all of the claims and remedies are final and the arbitration completed. Thereafter, the remaining claims must be litigated in a federal or state court of competent jurisdiction in New York County, New York, and the parties agree that litigation
litigation of those claims shall be stayed pending the outcome of any individual claims remaining in arbitration in all cases described in this section 17.5. The federal or state court shall be bound under the principles of claim or issue preclusion by the decision of the arbitrator. Suits brought in state court may be removed to federal court by either party if permissible under applicable law. Claims excluded from arbitration, notwithstanding the parties' agreement to resolve all disputes through binding individual arbitration. You and Take-Two may bring an action in state or federal court if limited to any of the following claims: patent infringement or invalidity, copyright infringement including without limitation based on use of the services, follow raga, breach of or termination of rights under the agreement. Then this arbitration agreement shall be deemed null and void in its entirety, and you and Take-Two shall be deemed to have not agreed to arbitrate your specific individual dispute.